Welcome back to That Dad Guy. Today is November 11th, 2022. In Canada, it's Remembrance Day, so we are celebrating by wearing our poppy, by taking a moment of silence, by going to military epitaphs, and remembering those brave men and women that have served our country and paid the ultimate price, and those that continue to serve. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a different video. I guess most of my videos I try to be a little bit different, but as today's Remembrance Day, I want to talk about why we wear this poppy first. I am going to get to postcards. It's Friday, and I always show you the postcards that I get through the week on Friday, so that's still going to happen. There was a new stamp that was issued this week. I have that, so I'm going to show you that too. If this part of the video is not to your liking, you're more than welcome to fast forward to the part that you do. I do appreciate those that watch all the way through, and yeah, I want to talk about this. So if you are in a British Commonwealth country, usually you wear a poppy leading up to November and including November 11th. They look different in different places that you go. In Canada, this is the traditional poppy. So it is a plastic poppy with a metal pin and a felt center in the middle. Usually they fall off all the time. People put eraser ends on the end to try to stop the pin from coming out, but you will see them fall out. One of the tricks that people use here is you see the pin coming through the poppy on this side to try to hold it in place. It makes it much sturdier so it doesn't come off. You often find them, you put your seatbelt on, and when you get out of the car, you take your seatbelt off and the poppy falls. The other thing that our veterans have put out in the last few years are these metal pins, and on the bottom it just says "We Remember." Try to get this the best I can. It will focus on it. It's not focusing very well, but that's what I have. And some people put those in the center to hold their poppy on. Others just use these as they are. I tend to, on my uniform, I put one of these on as it is, and then wear a poppy this way on my jacket or my shirt or whatever I'm able to go out with. Also, last year, these poppy stamps came out. So I went to my local post office and they still had a few booklets of them. So I have them to put out again this year on some of my cards and envelopes. So I'm happy about that. But why do we have a poppy? Well, there was a Canadian from Ontario, Guelph, Ontario, John McCrae, that wrote a poem called In Flanders Fields. I don't know if all countries read this poem on Remembrance Day, but in Canada we certainly do. And it talks about the poppies that grew up in the place where the battlegrounds were held. Flanders Field, is it a real place? Yes, it's a real place. Actually, when my wife and I were touring Europe, we did this right after university. We took 2.5 months and toured all around Europe. And everyone says, you're doing it the American way. I mean, we're Canadians, but the North American way, which is try to hit as many places all at once, and you don't get the rich history. We were in a place, I believe it was in Belgium too, where we were staying at a youth hostel. And this family with a couple kids, they were at the youth hostel too, and we got to talking with them, and they were only from about 40 miles away. They said it was the furthest they'd ever been. They'd come to this youth hostel on bicycle, and they said, why would they go further afield? They haven't seen everything in their little area yet. Why explore the rest of the world? And we were hitting Europe. We were going from city to city. From one day to the next, we were traveling great distances and seeing as much as we could in that short period of time for as cheaply as we could too, because we had no money, or very little money anyways. So we were seeing their country two different ways. But when we were in Belgium, I said, I want to go to Flanders Fields. So I went to a tourist bureau and asked the information bureau there, how do I get to Flanders Fields? And they kind of looked at me oddly, but then they pulled out a map and they showed this giant region that covered Belgium. They said, this is all Flanders Fields. This is not, I was thinking it was a kind of a farmhouse that had, a couple of acres or hectares of land, and that was Flanders Fields. But no, it is a whole region of Belgium, and those of you who are from Belgium are probably laughing at me, thinking that I thought it was something small when it was this large portion of your country. So I learned a little bit that day, or I learned a lot that day. And I certainly learned a lot on that trip as we traveled between different sites that Canadians have been. Dieppe, France, one of them, Vimy Ridge, lots of small towns in Bruges, in Belgium, that have beautiful cemeteries that still are well respected and well cared for, with Canadian headstones, with German headstones, both sides of the war, certainly well cared for, and made us really think. We had some emotional times on that trip, to show how much people still care about the sacrifices that were made in World War I and World War II. When I look at epitaphs and things here in Canada, and people that spray paint them, and things that get defaced or get knocked over, it makes me sad to think that we don't take as good care for our memorials as those that do take care of our soldiers, our people's remains left on their land. So thank you to all your European communities that have done such a wonderful job. Dieppe, France was huge for us because we have a town here in Moncton, or Greater Moncton, the town of, or the city of Dieppe, which was named after the place in France. And when we went there, there was Canada Bay, there was Canada Main Street, there were all sorts of things that were named after Canada for the sacrifices that were made on their beaches. So yeah. Getting back to the poppy though, and In Flanders Fields by John McCrae, and why this poem kind of blew up, and why these things happened. Let me just read to you the poem first of all, for those of you that don't know it, and for those of you who do, this will be a refresher. And if you're celebrating today or remembering today, here we go. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead. Short days ago we lived, we felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw, the torch be yours to hold in high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. So that is the poem that all these poppies are based on, and why we wear them today. And I wanted to get now into some more of the history of it. You know, why do these poppies grow in Flanders Fields? Were there lots of poppies in that area to begin with? The answer apparently is no, not a lot of poppies were in that area to begin with, but because of all the explosions and the bombs that went off, the nitrogen in the air, it brought all the seeds to the top, and with that nitrogen it helped fertilize them, and so massive amounts of poppies started to spread and grow, and I guess that's still the case. Just to give you an idea, 150,000 people died in Flanders Fields. 50 different countries were represented in those battles that took place in that time frame during the First World War. And that was all in around 1917 area. And there are still things in the memorial over 100 years later that represent that. So that is that. What I want to do next is 1 minute of silence. If you can put up with 1 minute of silence for remembering those on either side of all sides of war. We still have wars going on today. There was a lesson we tried to teach our children early on, and it was, if it's not yours, leave it alone. And some of our politicians don't adhere to that now, want to take things that don't belong to them, are sacrificing brave men and women on both sides in order to take things that aren't theirs. We need to tell them to stop. It's not yours, don't touch it. So if you don't want a minute of silence, feel free. Skip ahead another minute, you'll see a different part of the video, and this will be done. If you can withstand giving 1 minute of your life to think about those people and all the people that are still going on. Let's do it. I want to thank both my grandparents who fought in the First World War, and my parents who were alive during the Second World War. My father was actually living in England as a young boy during the Second World War and had to be evacuated out of London to the countryside, to his grandparents' house. His father, who worked at the bank, had to stay back in London and man the bank and do things for air raids. And houses were bombed and all sorts of things. So my family has been impacted by the wars, and from both sides too. I actually have a distant cousin who married a German prisoner of war who was captured and was sent to Wales to be, I guess that was his work on a farm there. And they fell in love, and he stayed in Wales and became part of the family. So that is great. I also have a Polish uncle who managed to escape work camps in Germany and found his way to England, joined the Polish resistance, but while living in England met my father's sister, and they got married and have a wonderful family. And so the war has touched us in negative ways, but in positive ways too. So no matter what side you are on during any of these conflicts, be thankful. Be thankful for the peace that now lives in many of our countries, and we hope for peace in all of the rest. All right, that being said, happy Remembrance Day, and let's move on. I figured I would transition this way because I was shooting the camera that way for the other part. So this way we'll start talking about postcards, and then we'll get into the new release stamp. So the first postcard, going along with the original theme we had, this came from Kyler in Prince Edward Island. This is a card that is over 100 years old. You can see there it says, "Hands across the sea." He says on the back, after 100 years, this postcard is finally making its way through the mail. Since Friday is November 11th, today, I thought I'd send this patriotic card from World War I, and I do wager it's the oldest card you'll get this week, and he is right. So there is the stamp he's used on the back. And there is the vintage postcard that is over 100 years old. So thank you, Kyler. The next one is from Smokey in Wisconsin. He has snail mail with Smokey. This is a Doctor Who postcard, a regeneration one when we went from Will Smith to David Tennant, or vice versa, I guess. Yeah, vice versa. David Tennant, then Will Smith. Not Will Smith. Matt Smith. Will Smith would be completely different. All right. It has a big meaning if you are a Doctor Who fan and you're watching Regenerations. Jodie Whittaker has left being the Doctor, and we have a regeneration into another one. If you haven't seen it yet, I won't spoil it if you are a Doctor Who fan. There are the stamps. Hard to see because a heavy cancellation came through it. You can see the bunny there and the petunias here, I guess, or the whatever flowers they are. Not petunias. That actually reminds me of an Adam the Woo. If you watch YouTube, Adam the Woo, anytime he sees flowers, he says, "Are those petunias?" I think these are daffodils. So there you go. And there's Smokey's stamp there at the bottom and a hedgehog sticker. So thank you, Smokey, for that. The next one is a first-time swap. This is from Porto in Portugal. Look at this classic black and white, beautiful bridge. This comes from Hital, and she asked to swap with me, and I was glad to do so. And here's the stamp. Wow, look at the size of that stamp from Portugal. It's a Rio de Janeiro on the back. So there you go. So thank you for that. Hopefully we have many more swaps to come. And if you want to continue swapping, reach out, let me know. Okay, this next one is a 1000 postcard. This comes from Carl in Austria. He wanted to thank me for the Halloween card that I sent him and the stamps. This is the most famous gourmet food store in the city of Vienna. And if you know me, I love food, so that would be a nice place to go at one point in time. I have been to Vienna, but I was there quickly. We weren't there for a very long time when we were there. My wife was not feeling well either, so we didn't get to see a whole lot, so we definitely have to go back one day. There's the beautiful stamp on the back and a great cancellation mark. So thank you, Carl, for that. The next one comes from Sophia in Montreal. She went to a recent meetup that they had there. It was also a stamp meetup, so she was able to get some older, different size denomination stamps while she was here. She said she got $250 value of stamps for only $200, so that's a pretty good bargain, and hopefully she'll get to use them all up. Here are the old classic stamps, including the Terry Fox one there, bicentennial one, and that's her stamp right there. So thank you, Sophia, for thinking of me and sending that card off. The next one is this card of Chicago. It actually comes from Renee Lewis, so you may be following her on YouTube as well. Go check her out if you aren't. And she said that her son went to Chicago and picked up a few postcards for her while she was there. It was kind of a nice thing to do. My daughter in Montreal did the same thing, sent off some postcards to me as well. So it's nice when your family helps support your hobby, and goes along from there. On the back, we've got a variety of stamps, and we got a unicorn. She says I could be part of the unicorn club. I'm not sure what it entails, and she said there might be an initiation. I'm not sure what that is either, but I think it's funny, and I think it's funny that Renee put the well, it's kind of a balloon animal unicorn, and it's raised. I don't know if I can see that. It's raised anyways, and it made it through the mail okay. So thank you, Renee. The next card comes from Anita in Austria. We have this cat lady, kind of a Halloween. It says Happy Halloween on the back. She says she doesn't celebrate it, but it is a good day to send cards and have fun. She just thought you might like this cat lady. So there we go. And on the back we have all these stamps, lots of stamps. And this one here. All right, so thank you, Anita, for that. My next card comes from Juliana in Germany. We have a beautiful fall card, the forest, the leaves all changing colors. Here we are. There are the stamps that she's put on the back. And she said just before sending this, she was getting ready to celebrate her stepdaughter's 16th birthday, which I've been in communication with her, and she had a good time. And so that's great. My son is 16 as well, so very similar in ages. So thank you very much. This card comes from Nicole in Ohio, and we've got a Lego barbecue, doing some shish kebabs there. So she has mixed a couple of things that I enjoy, food and Lego together, and made one card. She wasn't done on the back because she's put in a postman stamp, excuse me, as I swallow my words. So we've got a bunch of different ones, but we got a letter carrier there doing his job. So thank you for that, and thank you for all the nice things that you had to say on the back for me as well, Nicole. All right, my last card is in an envelope. It comes from the UK. We've got a couple Wallace and Gromit there. So these are the new animation stamps that just came out. The cards that I got, now there was some stamps included in this as well. This comes from Ron, And he's collected some stamps to send along. I'll show you those at a later date, but I want to show you the New Forest Animal card he sent. So, all the different animals. Maybe Caroline in France would enjoy the fox that's there. We've got a badger and some horses and a little deer, it looks like. And then the other card that he sent was this one here. And this is a corn mill that was up where his daughter used to live. They had a shop up near there. And his daughter Michelle has sent some cards in the past as well. And did send a photograph or a card of this mill at another occasion. So I want to thank Ron for continuing to send things, the cards, for the stamps for my father's collection, even though the collection is slowly transitioning, I guess, into my collection. I'm going to have to figure out how to organize all these beautiful things that people send me for it and figure out how they're going to go in them. And I'm also I've been separating them by countries, so I have them that way. And I've been able to send a few back off to other people too. All right, so I want to thank everybody that sent cards. I didn't have any officials this week. They were all friend swaps. Fewer than I've had in the past, but nonetheless, no less special to get the ones that I did. And on a day like today, it was nice to remember and take some time to think about that. Now, let me show you the new release stamp. Last week, I showed you the Christmas stamps that came out. This week, Hanukkah stamp came out. And what's a little different about the Hanukkah stamp is look how long it is. So it's nice to get a long rectangle stamp again. On the back it says, this stamp sparkles with the joyful spirit of Hanukkah, though the contemporary interpretation of the flames of the menorah, many traditional surround the celebration, from the kindling of the menorah and the reciting prayers and the singing and eating foods cooked in oil. Hanukkah is a special time for children who play with tops called dreidels and often receive chocolate coins, small amounts of money, and other gifts. This year, the popular Jewish festival takes place from nightfall December the 18th to nightfall December the 26th. It's a book of 6. And so to go with the Christmas stamps I now have some Hanukkah stamps that I can send out. So thank you, Canada Post, for continuing to remember other religions. We've had Christianity represented in Islam and the Jewish faith now too. It's nice to see that we are multicultural and we can respect everybody and their different traditions and practices as well, and be shown or showcased through the postal system. So that's wonderful. I like seeing that, seeing the diversity that we're showing in stamps now too, the different themes that we have. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all the people that sent cards. I appreciate all our veterans, all our people in our lives that have made sacrifices to give us the peace that we enjoy today. So thank you to everyone. Thank you to all of you that tune in each week, each day, whenever a video pops up. You take the time to watch it. You take the time to like it, comment. Those of you that are sharing it on multimedia to others to see whether or not they want to follow it as well. Thank you to everybody in the community that is doing their part to help out, and to the Postcrossing community, to the Lego community, to the travel community. There are lots of different people that tune in for different reasons to watch my channels, and it warms my heart that you guys do. That being said, tomorrow's video is That Dad Guy Answers. Today is the deadline, so if you have a question for it, make sure you go back to last week's Saturday video, leave your question in there. If I see it, I usually write a good question or thanks or something or other just to acknowledge that I've seen the question. And tomorrow I will do up the video. So for now, have a magical week. What, Polo? You say like, subscribe, share, and tell all your friends?
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
Bye.